title states, this is a community call to action, which is focusing on violence in our city, the great city of Lansing, Michigan. And I want to be clear that this is a conversation to discuss the seriousness of which the Lansing Police Department commits itself and its resources to prevent, reduce, and hold those accountable for violence in our city. As a chief of police at the Lansing Police Department, today's call to action is essentially a rallying cry and strong plea for all sectors across our great city to partner, assist, and collaborate with the Lansing Police Department in mitigating and preventing the despicable violence we're currently seeing in our great city. I think we all are here because we feel some level of accountability for the acts of violence we have witnessed or either heard about in the city of Lansing recently. And I've had multiple conversations with community members, the mayor, other political partners regarding violence in our city. And the mayor has tasked the police department to prioritize violent crime in our stance. I'm firm in my stance that the Lansing Police Department and community will cohesively seek to collaborate in order to stem the recent uptick in violence we're having. And if I could have Chaplain Pickens join us, and please give us a quick prayer to pay homage for those souls that were lost as a result of violence recently. Thank you.
Let us bow together in a word of prayer. Lord, we gather believing that you are who you say you are. And we trust that in this moment, you care about the things that we're going through. Our read of the text shows that you lost a child to violence, and that loss affected not only you, but everyone else for all time. So, Lord, we gather believing that in this moment, you care about our losses in this city, that you are protecting, and that you are even now calling us to action. So in it, we trust that you will do what only you can do, that you will inspire us, that you will inform us, that you will unify us in pursuit of answers and healing in the wake of violence in our city. Thank you, Lord, for good leadership. You are the very best leader we have, and you have entrusted the role of leadership and responsibility to civic and elected officials. And so we gather now around them to lift them up and to ask for your blessing, for your guidance as we go forward by faith. Thank you for this time together and this amazing opportunity to respond to a call of action. It's in the name of the Savior, Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much, Chaplain Pickens. Much appreciated. Again, I am Darrell Green, Chief of Police, and now I will pass it over to Mayor Shore for some quick words.
Well, thanks, Chief. Thanks to everyone joining us here today. Gun violence isn't new, but we're certainly seeing greater incidents of gun violence since this pandemic took hold, not just here in Lansing, but really throughout the country. I serve on a gun safety consortium with several mayors nationally, led by the mayor of Pittsburgh. And we're looking at what solutions can be accomplished nationally that we can use locally. Most cities are preempted by their state laws from enacting local gun ordinances, and Lansing is no different. But we can work together to see what options we have through technology and through other means. And I'll continue to bring these ideas back to Lansing. Here in Lansing, our police are very involved both in trying to stem gun violence through response and through prevention. We need to find the perpetrators of gun violence and hold them accountable, especially when it's often the same people and retaliations for other actions. But we also need to engage in prevention by engaging with neighbors in our many neighborhoods to provide them the tools to report and to get information to our police. Chief Green is going to address many of the measures that LPD are taking through our violent crime initiative, through our SCRAM program, and other community policing initiatives to keep Lansing residents safe and secure. We know this is a tough time. We have a pandemic where we're stuck in our homes. Tensions are high, and there are resources that are needed to put towards these efforts. I'm glad you're all here today to understand what LPD is doing. I also want to welcome and thank Councilman Adam Hussein and Councilman Jeremy Garza, both who are with us here today and who've been tremendous advocates for safety and security of our residents. So thank you for being here today. I look forward to the information being presented and to all the cooperation and during this call to action. And Chief Green, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mayor Shore. Much appreciated, and certainly the Lansing Police Department echoes the tasks that you have provided us and direction you have given us to focus on violence in the city. The pace of violence in 2020, the last couple of weeks, has extremely been a terrible loss and erosion of the progress we were making to reduce violence in the city in the recent years. And this phenomenon and anomaly is not, certainly not, only seen here in the city of Lansing. Urban hubs across the country and throughout the state are experiencing record numbers of homicides and aggravated assaults. The upticks in violence have been seen in cities such as New York City, Chicago, Minneapolis, Los Angeles, Houston, Detroit, and even Saginaw, Grand Rapids, and unfortunately, the city of Lansing, we're experiencing as well. We have lost 19 persons that were killed in the city of Lansing this year, which is definitely a tragedy for our city. And certainly we stand firm to recognize those that died from this tragic violence. The tragic deaths of 19 people was a result of 16 total incidents. 5 of these cases remain open. However, those 5 cases, we're working some really good leads to close those cases. Homicide investigations, I'll say this from my experience in the Detective Bureau, are extremely slow and meticulous investigations. And oftentimes, and more so than any time, we need the assistance of our community. The community's help is needed in curtailing the violence, and that is what we are here for today. Our intent is to provide the community with some information so the police and the community can better collaborate on this issue in our community. And certainly 2020 has not been a normal year for anyone involved in the field of social services. Talk about mental health issues, teaching, but especially law enforcement. We definitely felt, the changes in adversity associated with COVID-19, with the struggling economy, with the unpredictableness of a host of different social issues. So we've dealt with all those issues as well. As a government resource, LPD has had to rethink, restructure, and adapt our processes and units during 2020 just to respond to such a challenging and unpredictable environment. COVID-19 truly changed our ability to respond to violence as we dedicated a considerable amount of resources to keep police officers and other staff members and the community safe from the pandemic. We have and continue to shift police resources to respond to just such a large volume of ongoing protests regarding protests against COVID-19 protocols, police reform, and most recently the presidential election. So we have had to and continue to exercise the city's values of empathy, compassion, constitutional policing, holistic policing, and dedication in crime prevention. And with that, I've given the department's patrol and investigations captains some autonomy in deploying supplemental police resources for areas that are currently experiencing increases associated with gun violence and other forms of violence. In response to the increases in violent crime, we deployed multiple patrol operations recently, including an increase in use of violent crime initiative, our federal partnerships with the FBI, DEA, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, and most notably the Michigan State Police as well. We also rely heavily on our crime analysts and also the analysts of the MIOC, the Michigan Intelligence Operations Center, to help us be fluid and make ample and sound decisions in the use of our resources. We have also partnered with the 30th Circuit Court in their swift and short sanctions probation program, which seeks to reduce new crimes, reduce probation revocations, and reduce the incarceration rate. We have partnered with this program, which is consistent with focused deterrence, which provides assistance to probationers to encourage them to maintain a non-criminal lifestyle while sending a clear message that continued violence will not be tolerated. We recognize that crime data is essential in the development of efficient and effective violent crime reduction strategies. And so we've increased the number of crime analysts that we use. We have leaned on Michigan State University for a host of interns that don't cost us any monies. We certainly understand the value of intelligence. Recent increases in violent crime is being driven by aggravated assaults in the city, and therefore our analysts are assisting with critical intelligence to disrupt and prevent violence, of which we're sharing with our other law enforcement partners throughout the area. And again, when I talk specifically about patrol operations, we have increased those deployments of targeted, visible patrol in areas that are seeing the violence. Certainly, and unfortunately, we have seen it all over the city. However, we have been focusing recently on the south end of town, and I continue to receive information, from neighbors and business owners on the south side of town, and certainly we're doing our best to decrease the fear of crime. And when it comes to specifically violent crime, our large impact and most proactive approach has been the Violent Crime Initiative. We've prioritized how they respond. They're responding to more of the non-fatal shootings that we're having, to address crime issues at the lowest level of violence. And we further continue our commitment to Project Safe Neighborhoods program that has provided us a number of grants to assist us in developing and strengthening our police community relationships. And as I talked a little bit about the number of homicide victims, 9 homicide victims, 16 total incidents, and 5 of those cases are open. Typically, the Lansing Police Department, our 5-year average for case solvability of homicides is right around 83.3%. That's our average for 5 years. And we're right around a clearance rate of about 69% as of right now. So we still have a lot of work to do. And as I said about those homicide investigations, they take a lot of time. But I am very confident in our staff. They do a tremendous job. And certainly, I think that we will do our best to solve the remainder of those crimes and work those solid leads. But again, this is a rallying cry from me as Chief of Police in our department that we need the community's assistance in moving forward. We have a number of different programs and ways that community members can engage with us. We have our mobile PD app, which people can leave anonymous tips. We also have our SCRAM program that the mayor mentioned. Essentially, that is our surveillance, crime, registry, and mapping program. Essentially, we do not have access to your cameras, but what we want to know is, do you have a camera, and what direction is that camera pointing in? So when we have an incident we can map and plot out escape routes, and also where the accused may have entered from. And so that's one way the community can definitely help us. And excuse me, two ways: mobile PD app, and there's also Crime Stoppers has definitely been a great partner. And we are very keen on making sure that we make decisions based on credible data. And so we use that data to deploy those additional deployments. The Lansing Police Department, just like other government units, we are a resource. So we have to use our resources, which cost money. We have to use them efficiently and effectively. But certainly, the other thing we have done really good here at the Lansing Police Department, when I mention our federal partners, is we have really engaged them in a really robust manner. We have those FBI agents, those DEA agents, those alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosive agents working directly out of our operations center and assisting us throughout the investigations. And they work also with our violent crime initiative. And I'm going to turn it over to Captain Rob Backus, and he'll describe a little more about our violent crime initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. As Chief said, my name is Rob Backus. I'm the captain with our investigations division, and I also oversee our violent crime initiative. Our violent crime initiative was started in 2014, and it was designed primarily to address an increase in firearm violence and an overall level of violent crime within our city. So currently we have 7 LPD members that are assigned to our initiative, and this includes supervisors, officers, and a detective. Primarily, their job every day is to use our analyst data to identify hotspots and add extra patrols. But they're also tasked with responding to live calls or patrol calls that involve firearms. They regularly assist our detective bureau in following up and helping them out with their investigations. They follow up on all the leads and the tips that we get about subjects who are illegally in possession of firearms. They're also tasked with, once warrants are issued for crimes of violence, tracking those subjects down and taking them into physical custody. And then further, if there's any agencies that have investigations that tie into the city of Lansing, it's our violent crime team that gets activated to assist them and make sure that their case gets the proper attention. As Chief Green said, our biggest asset is our partnerships with our local law enforcement, both local and state and federal partnerships. So this is primarily shown by our partnership with the Michigan State Police and what's called their Secure City Partnerships. The Michigan State Police has assigned 8 different police members to our department, and this includes supervisors, detectives, and troopers. But we also get help from our other local agencies. For example, East Lansing Police Department works with our Violent Crime Initiative, as does Michigan State Police, Ingham County and Eden County detectives, as well as the Michigan Department of Corrections. They've embedded one agent that is assigned and deploys with our group every single day. The Ingham County Prosecutor's Office has assigned a special prosecutor just for our group, and that prosecutor has also been designated as a flow through to the federal system as well. Currently, those groups represent more than really $1 million in additional personnel that we are given to help us address our violent crime. This year, statistically, we have seen an increase in our violent crime and our firearm violence. So to date, just our violent crime team has seized almost 140 guns. This is a 30% increase from last year. And in addition to seizing those guns, they've also made 169 felony level arrests. And those are typically arrests that are associated to gun crimes and violent crimes. Since this team's inception, they've taken over 500 guns off the street. And with our partnerships with our federal agencies, so primarily our ATF and FBI partnerships, we've indicted or we've adopted 28 cases to date that were developed locally in Lansing, but are being prosecuted on the federal level. So those are just some examples of what our violent crime initiative is doing on a daily basis to address the current levels of violent crime.
Thank you very much, Captain. Much appreciated. Definitely, if you could maybe talk a little bit about our crime analysis center, go into a little more detail than I was able to provide to assist the community in understanding how intelligence and data are used to link some of our perpetrators in the retaliatory cycle of violence.
Absolutely. So our violent crime initiative in our department overall has taken a much more forward-thinking stance that we can use data analysis as the foundation of our operations. So we currently have 3 full-time analysts, and we have 2 part-time that, as Chief mentioned, come from Michigan State University's graduate level program. We use our analysts to provide both strategic and tactical intelligence. So an example of strategic intelligence would be with our detectives, as they're investigating cases, they lean on our analysts to find other sources of evidence, whether that be digital evidence, surveillance, things of that nature that's going to boost their cases. For our tactical analysts, they are actually deployed with our officers, and they can provide real-time intelligence about who exactly we're dealing with, what addresses we're going to, what the histories are, so that our officers can make the most informed decisions in the safest and quickest manner possible. We look to develop this further so that we can deploy that across our patrol division and have that invested in all of our shifts, so that in hopes that all of our police officers, when they respond to calls, will be able to bring that type of real-time intelligence into their daily activities.
Thank you very much, Captain. Much appreciated. And I do want to tell the community, the Lansing Police Department conducted what we call a neighborhood engagement on the 4200 block of West Jolly today, and it was referenced to the most recent homicide, December 7th, 2020 at 1:20 a.m. probably. So we conducted what we call the neighborhood engagement. We had approximately 10 police officers, all in full uniform, and they went from every single door, knocking on doors, leaving information for community members, asking about video cameras, asking people to register their cameras with the Lansing Police Department, asking them also to send us tips and or either start a neighborhood watch organization, and I'll have Officer Vandervoorde talk a little bit about neighborhood watch. And again, also our Crime Stoppers partners have been great. But what we've been doing recently is sending officers in areas that are experiencing upticks in violence and other crimes, and having officers connect. There's nothing like that face-to-face. We understand we're in a COVID-19 environment. Officers are being safe. We're going to keep citizens safe, but sometimes we have to go door to door to develop those relationships and also seek and request tip information. And so a lot of times we are doing our best to engage the community. COVID-19 has certainly hampered that. Normally we would have about 400 engagements throughout the year. And that's been less than 25% of that has been done so far this year as a result of COVID-19 protocols. And so we're definitely experiencing the issue and the obstruction of COVID-19 on our law enforcement capabilities. The other thing we do is we try to keep a connection with many of our community partners. and I'm going to have several of them deliver a speech of some sort. And our survivors of homicide, those family members that have direct knowledge because they've lost a loved one as a result of violence in our city. And the first person I'll call is Miranda Hinton, and then John Edmond, and then Mike McKistry, Mikey 23. Miranda, if you could turn your camera on and you can discuss what we previously discussed, it would be appreciated. Thank you. Miranda? And now just turn your microphone on. I do it all the time, so sorry. Yeah, unfortunately, Miranda, your microphone's not on yet. I tell you what, we're going to come back to you, Miranda, and Mikey 23, Mike McKinstry, if we can get you to go, and then we'll come back to Miranda and let her talk then. Mike, if you could turn your camera on, and thank you very much. And if you could turn your microphone on as well, Mike.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Everybody hear me? All right. Yeah, I'm Michael with the Mikey 23 Foundation. You know, I'm going to give my time to my children, my three children. They started a nonprofit organizations, and I'll let them explain it to them more because their ages range between 17 and the 30s. And so they can more relate than we as adults can, as far as up in the age that we are. And so I'm going to give my time to them.
Hi, my name is Imani. My brother is Michael McKissick. I was 12 when my brother passed away. And I can tell you it affected the rest of my childhood growing up. Unfortunately, I know that I'm not the only child that goes through that. Easy to speak about our feelings. So I
Natasha, my oldest daughter, speak in regards to the organization that they started.
Hi, so my name is Natasha, and so my siblings and I came together and we started an organization. The organization name is Siblings Against Guns. Unfortunately, we had to start this because we did experience this with our younger brother, who was Michael McKissick. He was 23 when he passed. Also, unfortunately, we've had other people that, that had siblings who were murdered in the city of Lansing, where we've had to reach out and kind of be a mentor to them or walk them through the process, whereas we didn't have anyone to do that for us. So that's how we end up starting this organization, to be able to be a support to them, so that they're not by themselves. As their parents may be grieving, they're not alone. With this organization, we're not looking to only be like a mentorship to them, but to also have counselors, be able to reference them as far as mental health. I think that a lot of people miss that part and don't introduce that or talk about that, but this is a trauma. It does affect your mental space. So that's the gist of our organization, and how we're looking to bring, I guess, that change or that call to action to Lansing and to other areas.
Thank you very much, Natasha. Much appreciated. And I apologize, Mike McKissick. I mispronounced your name, but certainly we appreciate the McKissick family, Mikey 23, and Siblings Against Guns. We appreciate your efforts and look forward to partnering with you all moving forward. And Miranda, I believe your microphone is up and running, so the floor is yours, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you. My name is Miranda. I am the mother of Marcus Jackson, who was killed in August alongside with his brother Stephen. And our family's goal this year is to turn our pain into a purpose. And with that being said, we've created the Marcus a Comedian Foundation. And this year we're doing a toy drive to give back to the community and to show families that even in your trying times, you still do something positive. You turn your bad situation into something good. You don't go out there and try to retaliate or anything like that, because that's going to just create more problems, and we don't need that in our city. And anything that our family can do that's positive to help take our city back, that's what we're willing to help do.
Thank you very much, Miranda, and definitely our hearts go out to you, for the loss of your son, Marcus, and also as well, Stephen. And definitely, we also want to continue to partner with you, and we wish you the best on your toy drive, and you have our full support. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. And at this time, I'll pass the microphone over to John Edmond, the father of Amaya Edmond.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see me?
No.
Okay. All right.
I can't now.
There I go. All right. First of all, I'm John Edmond. I'm the father of Amaya Elise Edmond. She was shot and killed 10 years ago, July 23rd, 2010. It was my first child, and I put my heart and soul in this one. But as I begin to think about this thing and combating violence, and one of the first questions that I could remember was why. Why did this thing happen? How did it happen? And of course, during the time of the investigation through the police department, I got some of the answers, but I was really searching for something different and much further as to why these things happen. So I'm a man of faith, and I believe in God. Jesus Christ is my personal savior, and he's shown me so many things about the hearts of men, and why we do the things that we do. And that is, to me, the true definition of where we need to focus on. What is actually happening in the hearts of men to allow them? It's a decision that you make that ultimately is either going, save your life if you choose to do the right thing, or if you choose to do the wrong thing by taking somebody's life, then you eventually will end up locked up. That's one of the main things that I really believe that we as community faith believers, in the ministry that we do, we really need to start focusing on the heart. And how do we bridge the gap between the police and the community? Because in certain communities throughout the United States, as all of us know, there is a word out there called snitch. And that's the reason why you don't get information from one source to the next, being the police department, because people want to continue to have a quality of life, even if they living in the hood. If they living in a bad neighborhood, you got to know the code of the streets. They're gonna stick to the script. They're not gonna give that information because they don't want to get involved. So how do we reach the hearts of men that aren't willing to provide information, period? That's a tough task to deal with. And that's something that we're fighting against so much. And I've said this before, and I'll say this till the Lord brings me home. But we're going to continue to see people get killed. There's going to be more homicides. but we have to be prepared in order to reach the next generation. And by speaking to the hearts of men and really focusing on what's in the hearts of men, because before men can change, hearts must change. That's the real issue. Before men can change, your heart condition must change.
Thank you very much, John. Definitely some powerful words by yourself, Miranda, and the McKissick family. And we definitely appreciate all that you do in the community. And I know, John, we've had some deep and tough conversations throughout the years, and you've been a solid, um, person to rely on in the community, and we definitely appreciate you for that. And the other issue that I think you're kind of leading to is the mental health issue. And we understand that is definitely a viable issue. Uh, we here at the Lansing Police Department have a police social worker to assist. She's one person, but definitely she's doing a great job for us and has made a tremendous impact. And if I could have Miss Jan Bidwell come on the camera and just talk a little bit about the importance of family members and friends addressing mental health issues, particularly as it can lead to violence in certain encounters.
Thank you, Chief. First of all, I want to express my condolences for everybody who lost a family member. I'm sorry. I work with this every day. I work with families who have found loved ones deceased, and I refer people to mental health treatment. And Miss History, Natasha, when you talked about trauma and when you talked about mental health, I'm right there with you. It is a matter of heart. It is a matter of us connecting one to another. And during COVID right now, everything's unpredictable. Everything's unsteady and uncertain. And impose on that, we have to be distant. And human beings don't do well with that, especially the mentally ill don't do well with that. And people who don't have a severe mental illness aren't doing well. People who tend to be angry or grumpy are more angry, or impulsive are more impulsive, anxious are more anxious. And it is not to be stigmatized if you need somebody to talk to now under COVID, but most certainly if you lose a family member to a trauma. My telephone number is 517-898-6344. I would really love to be able to, when I speak with people who have lost family members, to be able to refer them to you, to have them meet with you, whatever it is you want me to do with that. I am embedded in the police department. I am a civilian staff member. I'm the only one that goes out with patrol, although not right now because of COVID. But I read the police reports and I know what has happened. And while there's an active investigation, I don't take any action because I don't want to impede what the detectives have to do. But it's extremely traumatic to have someone gone in an instant. And it's never for a good reason when it's a homicide. What I want to implore people to do just generally during COVID is to reach out to your friends and talk to them, ask them how they're doing. Just speak with them and don't make it a polite, hey, how you doing? No, not that. Ask them, really, how are you doing? What's happening for you? It's not normal for anybody right now. I imagine this very forum with 19 homicides so far this year is triggering every single family member who lost a loved one. Share that with somebody. There is no stigma to needing to talk to a mental health professional. if you get COVID, you're going to go to the doctor, right? So if something happens with mental health, get some help. Reach out, touch someone, let them help you. You're not any less of a man or a woman if you're floundering right now, because I want to tell you, everybody is floundering right now. Everybody. Those of us who have stressors from our past, we're floundering a little bit more. So I hope that you can reach out to me. I do 4 10-hour shifts a week, but I basically do take calls 7 days a week because there's only one of me. Every other provider I know right now during COVID is taking calls 7 days a week because we have to, because it's very, very difficult right now. And it's evidenced by our violence. And I just also want to say that the mentally ill are more often likely to be victims of crime than violent criminals. There are certain diagnoses that lend themselves to explosiveness when they're not medicated, but please do ask for help. We have to be distant, but we don't have to be disconnected right now. And reach out to me if you want to. My email is, my legal name is Jane. So it's jane.bidwell@lansingmi.gov. And I have great providers who do trauma-informed treatment. I also do trauma crisis work to help you work with intrusive thoughts and memories, and breathing work until you can get in with a treatment professional.
Thank you very much, Jan. Much appreciated. Definitely, you're doing some important work, and certainly our community needs it to help us move forward in a positive way. And at this time, I'm going to ask Officer Anthony Vandervoorty to take the floor and talk a little bit about Neighborhood Watch and some other programs we have to connect the community in our fight against violence in the community.
Good evening. Thank you, Chief. Again, my name is Officer Anthony Vandervoorty. I'm the Community Service Officer here at the Lansing Police Department. One program that we have is Neighborhood Watch. And what Neighborhood Watch is, it's a crime prevention program which partners the neighbors and the Lansing Police Department to help reduce crime, solve problems, and improve the quality of life. What it involves is a neighbors or neighborhood to make the commitment to actively report crimes, disorder, and other types of incidences that are occurring in their neighborhood. Even if it's the smallest things, referencing parking or pedestrian traffic or so on and so forth, that allows us to hopefully go into a neighborhood and learn about incidences that are minor that don't become more critical in the future. The way that it's organized is somebody in the neighborhood has to step up and be a coordinator. And what they are, they're basically the liaison between the Lansing Police Department and their neighborhood. They have block captains who are responsible for their blocks. And then we also have what are called watch members. And what they do is they report to each other. And what it does is it shows a unity within their community and their neighborhood to work with the police department to help improve the quality of life and reduce the fear of crime for the neighborhoods that they live in. Some of the things that we offer to the neighborhood watch groups are we put signs out in your neighborhood to show the unity of your neighborhood with the Lansing Police Department. We also sponsor different type of events throughout the year, such as National Night Out, which again shows the unity of the community and the police department to anybody in the neighborhood that might be out there that are up to no good. Some of the other programs that we have is our neighbors. We are on the Neighbors app. It's a mobile app that allows the citizens to communicate with the Lansing Police Department in regard and other community members in regards to crimes and safety issues that are going on throughout their neighborhoods. And then also we have the SCRAM program, which I believe the chief already talked about, which was to registering your cameras to help in assisting investigations. And those are the three things that the community service unit works on. I can be contacted anytime, either by email or by my office number, which is 517-483-6812. If you'd like to get more information regarding Neighborhood Watch and how to begin the organization of a Neighborhood Watch in your neighborhood, which I will help walk anybody through that would like to learn more about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Much appreciated. And I think we're trying to sell you on this, on some of our programs, the SCRAM, the mobile PD app, the use of Crime Stoppers, embracing a neighborhood watch in your community. We're trying to sell you on that because that will help us solve crimes. And if we can get the help we need to solve crimes, we can also help improve the quality of life for our city. And that's ultimately what we want to do for all. It'll benefit all aspects of our community if we can do that. And at this time, I have a few political council members that are here. If they would like to say a few words, it would be certainly greatly appreciated. Councilmember Hussein and Councilmember Garza. And Councilmember Hussein, let's try Councilmember Garza first because your microphone is not coming on.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right. Well, I appreciate you letting me go in front of Adam as well because he's a lot better speaker than I am. So let me go first. First off, and most importantly, I would really like to express my sincere condolences to everyone here who have unnecessarily lost a loved one to a despicable act of violence. You know, my heart and prayers goes out to you and your family. Thanks, Chief Green, for putting this community call of action together. It's much appreciated and definitely needed. So thank you. As you may know, I'm a city councilman for the 2nd Ward of Southeast Lansing. I'm also the public safety chair for this 2020 season. And I've been an advocate for community policing in our Lansing community for quite some time. You know, community policing gives more control over the quality of life in their community. Community policing means police become part of the neighborhood. You see police officers out there shooting basketball with the neighborhood kids, you know, they get to know each other, brings them together. It's part of the family. You know, I think that is the gap that we need to help solve some crimes, to help bring people forward that are not so willing to talk to the police. You know, this helps police get a better sense of residents' needs and helps residents to develop a greater trust in the police. You know, I'd like to see that department grow within our police department, and I'll do whatever it takes to help move along the way. So thank you guys. Appreciate you for putting this on. And my email address is jeremy.garza@lansingmi.gov. My city cell phone is 517-648-4511. Please reach out to me if you have any ideas or suggestions, or you'd like to have me show up to one of your meetings. I'd be more than happy to. And I look forward to another meeting like this. So thank you guys.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Garza. Councilmember Hussein, are you up and ready?
No audio, Adam. You could try calling in and that would still work. We could delay for a moment. Won't take long.
So while Councilmember Hussein is getting set up, I just wanted the community to know, we forgot to mention this, is the Lansing Police Department, we joined the Neighbors app by Ring. And certainly that's been a successful initiative to not only catch package thieves and burglars, but what it does is puts the neighbors in communication with each other and the police. And that's certainly a viable part of community policing. Residents who do not own Ring products can still utilize this app and receive information from the Lansing Police Department and your neighbors. The police department will not have access to your cameras. And I say that again, the police department will not have access to your cameras. The only thing we will see is what you choose to share on the application. If someone, suspicious in the neighborhood and you want to share that information, you can certainly get that to us. The Lansing Police Department, we continue to look for new ways to strengthen communication for our residents and officers, and certainly joining the neighborhood app is a good tool for us. So thank you very much. Councilmember Hussein, the floor is yours.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so first of all, let me apologize. I teach 150 kids a day through Google Meet. I'm on Zoom all day long, and I don't think I've ever had an issue with my microphone, so I apologize. First of all, to the folks that share their stories tonight with us, those that have been victims of crime and have lost loved ones, that took a tremendous amount of courage. It continues to take a tremendous amount of courage each time you speak about those issues and you share your stories. And so for that, we really, really appreciate you all. I think I speak for everyone when I say thank you, and that our thoughts and prayers are with you. I also appreciate the recognition of, city officials, or I should say by city officials, and a number of residents and business owners throughout our community that, recognize that the rate of violence right now in our community is absolutely unacceptable, period. Lansing is small. And so when when violence elevates, it really does impact most of us. The victims of the crime, if it's not us, are often our neighbors, our friends, family, or friends of loved ones. And so the crime is, not that far removed from us, no matter where we are typically in the city of Lansing. So again, I want to thank those that have been concerned enough with the elevation of violent crime in our community to call for this meeting to participate throughout. And I also appreciate, obviously, the efforts underway now that have been shared with us to safeguard our community. Some of those things, obviously, were discussed by Captain Backus, Chief Green, Jan Bidwell, as well as Councilman Garza. That said, I also agree with some of our speakers that we need to really continue to recognize really the underlying issues of violent crime. And we need to continue efforts. I really should say double down on our efforts to attack those causes and really immerse our people right here in the city of Lansing with opportunity so that they don't turn to crime. And I don't think that these conversations, when you talk about public safety and keeping our community safe while also attacking the underlying issues, that often result in crime, I don't think that they need to be mutually exclusive conversations. I think that these conversations should be taking place together. Right, so we can talk about, as an example, the need for community policing, such as what Councilman Garza referenced earlier, and the importance of it, but also talk about the issues with housing, in our city, and the fact that we need to ensure that folks have safe and appropriate housing. We need to hold our predatory landlords and our management companies accountable. Right, we can talk about the importance of the Violent Crime Initiative, and as an example, getting illegal guns off the street, but also talk about healthcare. And the fact that we need to work with the county, we need to work with Sparrow, we need to work with McLaren and other healthcare providers to ensure that, that our citizens have access to reputable, affordable healthcare, and what's really important in or near their neighborhoods, right? And so that's, something that we need to be attacking with everything that we have. We can talk about the importance of Neighborhood Watch and growing Neighborhood Watch while also talking about the importance of education. As an educator, obviously this is near and dear to my heart, but we need to continue to work with our local schools, the building and construction trades. We need to work with, apprenticeship programs and the like to ensure that there are real pathways to ascend the socioeconomic ladder and that folks aren't trapped in poverty. We need to continue to enhance, our workforce development here in the city of Lansing and ensure this is really a place where people feel comfortable investing, creating jobs. Imperative, right? We know this is imperative to job access and attacking really that income disparity that many of our citizens are grappling with. We talk about, growing the social worker division within the Lansing Police Department. We can talk about that. And then on the other hand, also talk about jobs. and just how important it is to, aggressively pursue investment and entrepreneurship opportunities and job creation really throughout our community. And I think, reinvesting and investing, maybe even for the first time in some of those districts and corridors really outside of the downtown area, eliminating blight and the like, right? So I think these conversations should and could be happening at the same time. I think lastly, we need to also recognize, folks, that we can't go at it alone, right? Our state and federal officials, entities are responsible for addressing, or at least helping to address many of these issues. You think of expansion of Medicaid, you think of supporting and funding mental health, substance abuse treatment, reforming laws at the state level, right? We have conversations taking place right now pertaining to predatory lending practices, and actually making it easier for folks to, set up these types of predatory establishments, in our most impoverished communities. What about the investment in some of our economically disadvantaged, communities? So I think it's far past time that we also hold, our state and federal officials accountable. So again, I really appreciate the fact that we're having these important conversations. I think it's an incredibly comprehensive and broad conversation that needs to be had, but there's a lot of work to do. So I guess in closing, I would just say again how much I appreciate all of you for being in attendance, all of you for wanting to be part of really the solution. It has been my absolute pleasure as a citizen of the city, as a teacher in the community. And as a member of various boards and commissions and things of that nature in the community, working with you all in trying to drive our community forward. We got a lot of work in front of us, but I think if we all roll up our sleeves, put our minds together, I think we can get this done. So again, we appreciate you being here, and Chief Green, I certainly appreciate you calling for this meeting. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Council Member. Much appreciated. I think that I look at crime as a extremely complex issue, and I look at it from a holistic approach. And I think that's consistent with what you said. I think that, more than one aspect of government services has to look at addressing crime. And certainly I'm in the police sector, and I believe in, making sure that we have the resources, that we have the motivation and dedication and commitment to engage in crime prevention. But certainly I know that crime is complex, and you have to look at so many other systems in order for us to have the quality of life that is deserving to the city of Lansing. And Patricia Spitzley, Councilmember Spitzley, made the call, and you're up.
Well, thank you, Chief. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm going to be brief. Everything that has been said that I feel has already been said. Thank you for having this. I want to thank, the mayor, my fellow council members. It is a complex issue in the crime here, and my deepest sympathies go to the families of the crime victims right now. As a mother, I always tell people, as a mother of two sons, I can't imagine, and I worry every day when they go out, and so I can't imagine the grief you feel, and I'm deeply sorry. The role of government is to provide services to our residents so that they can feel safe, and the services that have been discussed this evening are a piece of the puzzle. Our community groups out there that are our frontline workers that are out there interacting. The Mikey 23 Foundation, I see Mr. McKissick is on the line, and John Edmond, and some of the others that are out there doing community outreach. That's another critical piece, and we have to work together as a community to better our community. And so I am hoping that working with the administration, working with council, working with the community groups, working with Jan, and you're doing a yeoman's job, and we need to give you more resources to do your job too. But we all need to work together for the greater good. We all want a safe Lansing where everybody feels safe. And so I think that we can achieve that, but we're going to have to, again, as Councilmember Hussein said, roll up our sleeves, do the hard work, It is a complex issue, but it's a solvable issue. And so I just wanted to say thank you for allowing me to say a few words. Thank you for our residents who are participating, and thank you for Chief Green to have this listening session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, council members. Much appreciated. I want to just kind of close it out, and I apologize because we had a short time frame to get this together, and unfortunately, we can't take any questions. This is the first of many meetings. We're going to be bringing this conversation to various communities, neighborhood associations as well, to give people the opportunity to deliver their statements and express their concerns. So this won't be the last of it. But I do want to thank everyone that participated, particularly those that tragically lost a life. And we value, your input. And certainly we appreciate the great work you're doing in the community. I want to thank everyone from the Lansing Police Department, Mayor Shore, which was really a person who, made sure that this was accomplished. So thank you very much. Chris Mumby from our Information Technology Division, and all of our political council members that were here. Thank you very much. Have a great night. And again, this isn't the end of it. The Lansing Police Department, we are standing firm. We are committed. We are taking whatever we have to stamp out the violence in our communities. And know that you all in the community, we care about you. This is a great city, and we're going to do everything we can do to improve your quality of life. And know that this is the first of meetings to come. So thank you very much all, and have a great night and stay safe.